Hey Grove Youth, what's up? It's Tim. Guys, thanks for tuning in tonight, whether you are a high school student watching at home because it's your at-home week, or you're a middle schooler who just couldn't make it out onto campus tonight. Whoever you are, guys, thanks again. Thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day to spend with us so we can dive into God's Word together here in just a minute as we continue the Right Here, Right Now series. My friend Grace is going to be bringing the message tonight. It's about Jonah, and it's about what happens to us when we try to run from God's will and His purposes in our life. I'm excited. That's coming at you in just a minute here, but before we get to that, I have a few announcements for you. First and foremost, guys, don't forget, follow us on social media. You can keep up with everything that's going on. We're on Instagram, students, and Facebook, parents. And you can keep up with, like I said, with everything that's happening in the life of our student ministry there. One thing we're bringing back is Pick of the Week. If you guys upload pictures onto Instagram or Facebook, or if you don't have a social media account, if you ask your parents to just tag a picture for you, we'll know it's from you. Use the hashtag Grove Youth. We'll find those pictures. Every week we'll put one up on the screen at our in-person gatherings, and you'll win a sweet prize if we pick your picture. So start uploading those pictures again. Start using the hashtag Grove Youth. We'll find those, and we'll have a lot of fun and kind of share what's happening in the life of our youth group and church as we do that. Guys, don't forget, high schoolers, if you're watching this right now, you're back with us on campus next week, 7 o'clock in the worship center. We're meeting every other week in person, and then every opposite week online. You guys don't sleep on the online services. We're doing different messages every week, so you're going to want to keep up with our series and our teaching by watching online and then join us on campus. I know it's kind of wonky. It's what we have to do right now to keep everybody safe and healthy. And I love the fact, though, that we get to see you guys face-to-face in person, even if it is just every other week. Guys, one more thing tonight I want to remind you of is don't forget that we're also gathering in person on Sunday mornings. And students, you are more than welcome to make your own reservations and come to services. A lot of you guys are doing that with your families. But if you're kind of on your own, your parents go to a different church or they don't go to church at all, you can always go and make your own reservation and show up at our services on Sundays. We would love to see you guys, connect with you. You can be a part of the greater life of Hickory Grove. You can worship with us, hear an awesome message from Pastor Bill. And we love to see you guys there on Sunday morning. So just because maybe your family hasn't been coming out, your parents aren't, high schoolers especially, if you guys want to join us on campus, just go to hickorygrove.net, make your reservation, and you can join us on Sunday mornings. All right, guys, that's about all I got for you. Let's have a little fun. We're going to have a screen game here for a couple minutes before we get into our message, and then Grace is going to bring the word tonight. Thanks again for joining us here for Grove Youth with our at-home version of our service. Peace.
guys. I am excited to bring you week 2 of our sermon series right here, right now, to you, wherever you are, right here, right now. No, that was bad. I'll try not to use that anymore. Anyways, we are going to be talking about a man named Jonah from the book of Jonah. So if you want to go ahead and turn there now. So to give you some background, Jonah was a prophet. This meant that he was called by God to kind of be a link between God and the Jewish people and the Israelites. God would send him messages or warnings or something like that, and he would bring it to the Israelites people during war or when they were doing something wrong, or he was the middleman, and kind of like a big deal there in Israel. But we see within the first couple sentences that God had called Jonah to Nineveh. And to give you some background on Nineveh, Nineveh was the biggest city in the world at that time. It had about 120,000 people living in it, and it was the capital of the Assyrian Empire. Now, that seems crazy to us, to be called to a big place like that to send the word. But for Jonah, it was not exciting at all. To give you an idea, this would be like if it was during World War II and a Jewish man was living in New York. Okay, go with me here. A Jewish man is living in New York during World War II. And God tells the Jewish man, I need you to go to Germany, to Nazi Germany, to Berlin in Nazi Germany, which is the capital, and tell the German people that I am sending them judgment and that they need to end their wicked ways, and turn to me now. So that was a little scary. That would have been scary for Jonah. It would have been scary for the Jewish man. And to give you an even better idea, the Jewish man, in response, leaves New York, does not go to Germany, goes to San Francisco and hops on the next boat to Hong Kong in the complete opposite direction. That's exactly what Jonah did. He left his hometown and hopped on the next boat to Tarshish, which is a fun word to say, Tarshish. Hopped on the next boat and was heading in the complete opposite direction of where he needed to be in Nineveh. Now, when I was trying to come up with the modern example of the Jewish man, I realized that there was an even more clear or modern example that I wanted to bring forth, and that I saw a lot of myself in Jonah. And maybe you do too. But to give you my perspective, I found myself, a past version of myself, in the experiences that Jonah had. And no, God had not called me to some random town in Germany or New York or something like that. I wasn't called to a place, but I was called at a very young age. In 4th grade, I had my first prayer over me and my first realization that I was called to be a leader, to be a prayer warrior, and be a teacher. And these were all big things in my head. I was in 4th grade. I had no clue what any of that meant. And right off the bat, I denied it. I kept my relationship with God, but that area, that spot that he wanted me to go to, I wasn't having it. So from 4th grade to 5th grade to 6th and 7th, I had kind of started building a list of why God couldn't have called me to do the things that he had said that he had called me to do. And I know the title is long. I'm working on it, or I was working on it. But that's what I was doing all throughout that time, up into middle school and high school. Because I'm an introvert. I have a hard time talking in front of large groups of people. I have a hard time being in charge of a group of people. I have hard times, and it makes me shaky, and it makes my mouth dry, and I don't enjoy doing those kind of things. And that was all a part of my list. I didn't want to have to do those things because I knew, God, I'm not capable. I have no abilities to do these things that you're calling me to. And so out of fear of failing him, I ran. I was like Jonah, I ran in the opposite direction. I did anything and everything I could to make sure that I was not where I could have been to achieve that calling. I hung out with people that I shouldn't have been hanging out with. I did things that I shouldn't have been doing. I rebelled in any way that I could. And I made sure that there was a divide between me and God. Now, to bring you back to the story of Jonah and put a pause on my story. Jonah's running from God, and he's on the boat to Tarshish, and he is sleeping when the crew people come and get him and tell him that there's a big storm up on ship that is going to take the ship down. Specifically, the crewman says, pray to whatever God that you have, because we are going to go down and we need mercy from whoever's God is going to work. And Jonah knows. He knows that his God is the God that made the sea. His God is the God that controls the storm and all those people. And so he knew that he had to pray. He went to those guys and he said, I'm a prophet and I'm running from God, and I know that this storm is happening because of me. And immediately the crewmen are freaking out and they're like, what did you do? What are we supposed to do? We're terrified of your God. And Jonah says, throw me over. Throw me over. And that's what they do. They throw him into the ocean. Now, this is where I'm sure the big part of this story is, that I'm sure all of us know, is that he was swallowed by a whale in that time. God sent the whale to swallow him. Or it says a fish, but our theory is that it was probably a sperm whale or a big whale like that. Sent a whale to swallow him up, and that's where he lived for 3 days and 3 nights. And back to my story. No, I was not swallowed by a whale or by some fish. That's not where the rest of my story goes. But I was swallowed by fear and anxiety and depression and hatred of myself. I thought I couldn't possibly live up to what God was calling me to do, and that terrified me. So I sat there, swallowed in my grief and my suffering for a couple months, a year maybe. And I thought that there is no way that I could ever get out. But that's where my favorite verse from Jonah comes into play, and what I love so much. It's Jonah's prayer while he's in the belly of the whale. The first line, it says, I called out to the Lord out of my distress, and he answered me. And that one kind of hit me a little big, because that's what I did. I was so broken and so beat up and so tired of running, and I sat in my anxiety and my depression and my hate, and all I could do was call out. I said, God, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Well, I kind of know what I'm supposed to do, and I don't know how I'm supposed to get there, but I need you, because I can't live like this anymore. And that's what Jonah did. He called out to God in his distress and his grief, and within 3 days, he was back in Nineveh preaching the gospel. So to apply that to our sermon series today, I don't know, maybe you've been running. Maybe you know what God's called you to do, and you looked at it and laughed, because that's what I did. And you don't think that there's possibly a way that you could ever do something like that, or you're just running from God in general because you're scared that he won't accept you for the person that you are or the things that you've done. But I want to tell you guys here today, right now, God is calling you. Right here, right now, stop running from those things that he has called you to do, and take a hold of that purpose, take a hold of that relationship, and be made new, and see great things come from it. I'm thankful that you guys, sat with me as I shared that with you today, and I hope that you found a piece of yourself either in the story of Jonah or in Esther. And I want you to continue as we go throughout more characters in the Bible to stay with us, and we'll see you next week. I'm excited to see you again in person. And yeah, have a good day.